You see them online, real estate entrepreneurs. But how are they doing it? And what are they doing different? We've got the answers. This is the Real Estate Block. Interviewing real estate entrepreneurs doing consistent real estate deals. If you want to be a real estate entrepreneur or you're already in the business, we've got on the pros that give the secrets and strategies to make it happen. This is the Real Estate Block, and this is your host, Aaron Gaunt.
All right. Welcome to the Real Estate Block podcast, where the value given during this show will help you find consistent real estate deals, where we talk to real estate entrepreneurs doing consistent deals month to month. We'll be taking a deep dive into their team, looking into their marketing strategies and systems and processes on how they built a machine to produce consistent deal flow. Today, I have Omar on the show. Couldn't be more thankful to have him on here. Good buddy of mine. Omar, tell me who you are and how did you get in real estate?
All right. Well, my name is Omar Lopez, and thank you for having me on your podcast, The Real Estate Block. The way that I got started into real estate, it was about 4 years ago, I think, and I just got the bug out of nowhere. I think I was going through a stage in my life where I was reinventing myself. I had actually gotten in an accident back in 2017. Wow. Yeah. And I never thought I was going to be in real estate. So the accident involved me falling off of a palm tree. I used to be in the landscaping industry. So I used to be a gardener. You know, I used to do landscaping. That's what I grew up doing. That's what I used to do with my dad ever since I was a little boy, like 6 years old. My dad used to take me to work with him on the weekends to go do his gardening route. And I ended up having my own gardening route. I ended up going to college also. I double majored in horticulture and turfgrass management. So I thought that's what I wanted to do. I got out of high school and I thought that I wanted to have my own landscaping company. Right there in the Coachella Valley in Palm Springs, it's pretty prevalent, you know, like the landscaping, golf courses and all that. So then I ended up getting my own tree trimming equipment because I was going to do my own tree trimming route. And I ended up falling like 3 days later. Palm tree broke, boom, fell down on a brick wall, fell on my butt. I cracked the brick wall and I tried to brush it off because I had fallen off of the trees before. I mean, that's what naturally happens when you're trimming trees. Sometimes you fall. Mm-hmm. And I tried brushing this one off and I couldn't. This one was different. I collapsed. I told them to call 911. And after that, I was in the hospital. I came out 3 days later with a back brace and super depressed at the time. You know, I was like, man, what am I going to do now? You know, I thought I was going to have my own landscaping company. This was summer of 2017, 5 years ago, a little over 5 years ago. And I got into HVAC. A little after that, I had a friend who said, oh, let's do HVAC. I'm doing HVAC. So I ended up going back to school thinking that I was going to get my own HVAC company. I got my certificate. And after all that, I said, you know, I don't want to do any of that. And I said, you know what? I want to become rich. So I started diving into YouTube and all that. And I started seeing crypto, real estate, e-commerce, drop shipping, all that stuff, right? You know, they're trying to sell you into everything.
All the shiny objects.
Yeah, everything, you know. So I remember trying crypto for a little bit, but I really didn't understand it at all. I mean, I think I lost money, if anything. And I remember I had already read I had read Cash Flow Quadrant a little bit back in high school, like halfway. So I knew who Robert Kiyosaki was. And I went to the library one time. I remember seeing a video of this influencer, and he said, you know, if you want to, leaders are readers or something like that. So I went to the library and I was like, you know what? I'm going to get some books. So I got like 5 books. And one of them was Why the Rich Are Getting Richer by Robert Kiyosaki. And at first, the book was kind of intimidating. It was kind of lengthy. And I thought, man, you know, I don't know if I want to get that one. It looks kind of big. This one looks easier. I'll get it. So I got it and I read the whole thing in a weekend. So I got reintroduced again to Robert Kiyosaki, and they talked about real estate and saving taxes. And so, boom, I was like, okay, this word real estate is popping up. Let's look into it a little bit further. So I started looking even further and further. And I thought, okay, I realized that you got to stick to one thing. And I said, I could stick to real estate. I think I could do this. So then I picked up Rich Dad Poor Dad. I remember at the time when I bought the 3-book special, which was the first 3 books of Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant, and the third one, what the rich teach about investing or something like that.
Okay.
And I remember it was like $40 for the 3 of them. And I remember hesitating, thinking to myself, man, that's a lot of money, $40. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to drop $40 on 3 books. You know what? I'll do it. And I pulled the trigger, boom, reintroduced to Rich Dad Poor Dad, and the spark started. I said, you know what? I want to live my own life. I want to create my own destiny. I think I can do real estate. I want to collect passive income. I want to do all this. So after that, I was like, all right, it's real estate. I'm not going to look at anything else. I'm going to go all in. And after that, I mean, it was just webinars, real estate meetings, podcast, RIAs, seminars, and the rest is history.
Wow. And Wolf, I mean, there's a few things. That's a fantastic story. I love it because, we're going to get into where you're at now. First off, when you fell in your landscaping company, you weren't wearing a harness?
Well, I
was OSHA not big?
I was, but the palm tree broke on me.
Oh, man.
It was a palm tree.
I can imagine how scary that was.
Yeah. The palm tree broke on me. It must have been well, it was like hollow on the inside. I remember the palm tree looked a little unusual. It had some weird palm fronds, but I didn't really think much of it because palm trees usually don't break. I mean, they survive hurricanes now. And so I didn't think it was going to break. So it broke.
Gotcha. Well, I'm glad you're okay, but I mean, I guess it was a blessing in disguise.
It was.
You also said that you wanted to go down some HVAC, starting your own company. You already had this kind of entrepreneurial mindset, which is awesome. Not a lot of people have, but you already said, hey, I want to start a company, but I want to be rich, right? I mean, why didn't you have that correlation of starting a company and being rich? Because I know there's a lot of people, and personally, a lot of people who start HVAC companies and are doing very well off. And have you thought about maybe going back to that, or why did you not pursue that even more?
So, yeah, knowing what I know now, I think any business, as long as it's profitable, is good. You don't necessarily have to go down real estate, right? But I think at the time, it wasn't what I was passionate about.
Gotcha. There it is.
Yeah, I wasn't really passionate about HVAC and doing all that. I felt that, I think also going back with Rich Dad Poor Dad, you have the 4 quadrants. And so he talks about the business owner and investor. And at the time, I knew I wanted to be an investor.
Okay.
So I think that's what triggered me. So I wasn't really into the B quadrant. I was more into the I quadrant. I said, you know what? Whatever I do, I want to be an investor. And so when you think of HVAC, you probably don't think of HVAC investing. But when you think of real estate, you do think of real estate investing.
Okay. No, 100%. Okay, so you bought these 3 books. It was $40. Now I know you've probably read a ton more after that. What was your first? And you just told us that you went into all this, all these groups, these mentors, these coaches, and that's where a lot of us get to where we're at today, and actually a very fast timeline. And you've been doing fantastic. What was your first course or thing that got you started?
So the first one that got me started was an unusual one. It was one of those free webinars by Ty Lopez. Ty Lopez, yeah. And so I think it was like $500, and they talked about RIAs. So the RIAs was what actually got me started. So it was this guy, Cole Hatter. He was talking about and for RIAs, for anybody out there that doesn't know, it's Real Estate Investors Association. So they're local real estate meetings where you go and you network with other investors. So I thought, okay, let me look one up. And I looked one up, and there was actually one in the Coachella Valley. I never knew. And there was another one in Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club that was about an hour away. And that was one of the first ones that I went to. I actually drove that hour to Riverside for the very first one, because the one in the Coachella Valley wasn't until about a month later. So I was on it. I said, I got to go to this Riverside area, even though it's only an hour away. I mean, not only at the time, it was kind of a long drive, but looking back now, I would make that hour drive every month because I just wanted to get in there. So that was the first one, that first course. But I mean, I've done dozens of other courses or mentorships, but the very first one was that free webinar that led to a $500 course that led to the RIA.
You got him. You got you. So, Omar, how did you get your first deal? I know you're right here. You were in our backyard. I know you're in Florida now. Would love to talk to you more about that. But what did your first deal look like, and how did you even get your first deal? And tell me more about that.
Yeah. So my first deal actually was a mobile home. And it was not a real estate deal. It was, well, at the time I thought it was a real estate deal, but as I started to educate myself, you begin to learn that mobile homes isn't real estate; it's private property. And it took me about 9 months to do that deal. So I think I got the bug like in the summer of 18. And then I did my first deal around spring of 2019. And this deal was very, very unique. I tried to do wholesaling in the beginning. I drove for dollars. I picked up the phone. I did all that. I built up a little bit of a pipeline. And to answer your question from earlier, now that I remember, I think that the first course that actually cost me more money was TTP by Brent Daniels.
There you go.
Yeah, TTP by Brent Daniels. So that,
and I don't want to put it too much out there, but I mean, how much was it? Because I know that course, I know the price of the course, but tell us how much that course was to get you ahead. Because I just want to let people know. Because the whole point of this podcast is, how are you doing consistent deals? Too many people struggle. Real estate agents, flippers, wholesalers, they do a deal here and there, but it's the consistency that I think is key.
Yeah. So that course was $4,000. It was $4,000. I think it's like $6,000 now, adjusted for inflation.
Did you have that money at that time? I know you were just going to college and you just
fell off a tree. I actually did have that money. I did have that money. So I pulled the trigger on it, and we'll get into this right now. I think at the time I didn't dive into that course as much as somebody else probably would have. I got a little impatient, and so that's where I went down the mobile home route. I thought that wholesaling might have been a little hard. So I did the course, I tried it, and I wasn't as consistent with it. And so I thought, man, I'm having a hard time getting my first deal. Let me try this mobile home. So there was also a crowd in these local real estate meetings that would do these mobile home deals. And I talked myself into doing a mobile home because my frame of thinking was, okay, well, you know what? Let me collect a small win. And then I'll get some experience with mobile homes, and I'll work my way up into houses, into real estate. And so that first deal was actually a mobile home that I bought off of a different local mobile home investor. And I actually pulled that mobile home out of the mobile home park, and we transported it into a different mobile home park, like an hour away, where I then sold it there. I sold it on owner financing.
Wow.
I'm still getting paid today. So actually my first deal was one where I didn't even make a profit in the beginning, because since I financed it, I was just recovering some of my money. I was just recovering a down payment, creating a note to finance the rest, where I'm still getting paid today on that note.
No, that's awesome, man. And okay, so let me ask you this, Omar. How did you break through the struggle from doing a deal here and there to actually now doing consistent deal flow?
I think to answer that is I just went all in. And I burned the ships. I mean,
tell us more about that.
Yeah. So I remember at the time when I got in, I told myself, you know what? The worst thing that can happen is I go back and I get a job.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Maybe 1 or 2 years in, it was like, you know what? Like, let's try this out, and let's do some real estate. And I mean, the worst thing that can happen is I go back and get a job, right? I go back and I do the same thing. But I remember listening to a podcast one time, and the guy told himself that he was burning the ships. He was going all in. There was no going back. So these entire 4 years, this is all that I have been doing consistently. But there was always some thought that if I had to, I can go back and get a job. But when I listened to that podcast, that's when I decided to burn the ships as well. And I said, I'm not going back. This is it. It's going to work or it's not going to work. And so I think just adopting that mindset of having to wake up every day and having to make it happen and just taking action, being consistent is what has led up to where we are today. And just being more consistent about it every day.
And so what does your team look like now?
Right now, I downsized a little bit. I had more virtual assistants, but right now it's a total of 9. I had to jump back into acquisitions. I had to let go of one of my acquisition reps recently. And so I'm back in acquisitions. I got 2 other junior/senior acquisition guys. They're in-house that we're training, trying to get to senior. I got 1 junior acquisition. He's virtual, but he's very good. So I would say he's almost at a senior level, but not quite. So it's 4 acquisitions, and I got 1 disposition in-house. And with him, he has 2 other VAs that are helping him with the dispo side, like sending ringless voicemail, like cold calling, cash buyers, and all that stuff. And then we got my wife, who is our transaction coordinator. She helps us manage some of our properties that we own as rentals. And then I got another VA that she just does anything that we ask her to do. So a total of 9, 5 in-house and 4 VAs.
I want to talk more about your team here in a second, but let me ask you this. What does your business look like now, percentage-wise, between wholesale, retail, flips? What does that look like?
So right now, it is all wholesale. It is all wholesale. We have some properties in the pipeline that are flips, but those are going to be the last ones that we sell, and so it's all wholesale.
Gotcha. Are you venturing out into novations right now?
Oh yes, we do have one novation under contract right now. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
About your team, I really like that structure, and I know we kind of talked about that. Because I told you I went right back in acquisitions as well. I love that junior and senior acquisitions the model. Tell us more about that, and like, what is their jobs, and how do you get from junior to a senior acquisition?
Yeah, so my current junior acquisition that is virtual, he's been with us for most of this year, and what he's doing is he's going into the leads that are like long-term follow-ups that might be colder or warmer, and he's going in there and trying to rewarm them, trying to bring them back up to the surface. Anything that is still in our CRM but is not immediate, and he's trying to bring it back up, doing a live transfer, so that when we get him on the phone, we already know that it's been rewarmed from him, and we're just going to lock it up. The other 2 senior guys that are in-house, I call them sort of juniors because I think they still need a little bit more experience to get to that senior level. So yeah, I did have more juniors that were virtual. Most of my acquisition people were juniors before, but I'm bringing it back a notch. I just got an office, so I got to fill this office up.
Nice.
And I want to get some culture, So, exactly. So some of the senior guys, they're kind of juniors, but the goal is to have them as seniors. So I want to have more seniors in-house. That way we can limit the amount of touches to a lead, because, the less people that touch it, if it could just be more of a senior person that just handles that lead, you don't really got to transfer it. You don't really got to do the whole junior senior thing. Okay. If you're a senior and if it's hot, then it's going to you, and I'm expecting you to lock it up. So I'm actually trying to transition a little bit out of having that many juniors in place.
Okay.
maybe or maybe like even if you are junior, you're more in house where we don't have to really rely on like the virtual team members to like pass it on, so that we can reduce the amount of contacts on that lead.
For sure. What CRM do you guys use right now to kind of have those transfers?
We have the smartphone. I was going to say smart dialer, but the dialer is a dialer inside a smartphone. So we have smartphone, and it's with Podio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Did you guys learn that that integration from Tiffany and Josh, I think?
The smart dialer with the Podio?
Yeah. Or did you just how'd you come across that?
So I actually got it from Nick Perry.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. So I had heard a couple other people in the industry talk about it. And when I heard him talk about it and how he was using it with his company, I thought, okay, this is good, because I'm sure you know Nick, but he runs a very successful wholesaling operation. So I said, if Nick's using it with his Podio, then it's got to be good.
No, that's awesome. I love how you have found that the phone system within the CRM. I didn't find that out until this year as well. We were always using Dialpad, but to have it integrated to your CRM, and we did try a smartphone. Didn't really find it favorable, but now we use Dialpad with our we use Salesforce, and it's been fantastic. So, but I know smartphone really works well with Podio.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, well, first off, I mean, how many markets are you in, and then what does your marketing strategies look like now?
Yeah. So right now we're still doing a little bit of California. That's where we started. That's where our bread and butter
And
was.
like Southern California, or just like
Yeah,
a
Southern
specific county?
California. Only Southern California, yeah.
Gotcha.
So the main southern parts, all the counties in the south. But now that I moved to Florida, I stopped my marketing in California. I'm only working whatever's in the pipeline and
Right.
try to lock those up. And we opened up in Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, and a little bit of Tennessee. But now I'm taking it back a notch. And now I'm just all in Florida and a little bit of Georgia. So
Okay.
I said, you know what? Rather than going into all these other states, I'm very bullish on the state of Florida. You know, I think the state
Oh
of
yeah,
Florida.
great market.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think Florida 10 years from now, it's going to be like California price wise. So I want to invest my efforts, my resources, my buyers, and my pipeline in Florida so that I can buy properties in Florida too. So right now,
There you
we're
go.
really only Florida, a little bit of Georgia, and working whatever we have in California.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, Florida. And well, I mean, that brings me to my next question, Omar. Why did you leave us? Why did you move from Southern California to Florida?
Yeah. So I think the number one answer to that was discomfort. I wanted to get out of my comfort zone. You know, I'm pretty big on personal growth and development, and I believe there's a certain level of comfort of you know, maybe sticking around in an area where you've been for a long time. So I really wanted to challenge myself. You know, I've been in Palm Springs my entire life, and it was also like a lifestyle move. I mean, I'll get into the other reasons, but you know, I said I'm going to challenge myself to set up shop somewhere completely different, somewhere completely new, no friends, no family. Let's see what you're all about. So that was number
Wow.
one. You know, just setting up shop somewhere different, challenging myself, and I couldn't find a different state like Florida that has a good combination of weather, lifestyle, no state taxes. I think the real estate is underpriced a lot compared to California as far as the rent to value ratios. I mean, you're close to hitting those 1%. You know, culture, and I mean, I came close to Miami. I'm in the Miami metro, so
Okay.
it's entrepreneur, it's business friendly. You know, there's big fish. You know, so I mean, if you want to catch big fish, you got to go where the big fish are swimming.
Wow. How did that conversation look like when you and your wife were talking about moving to Florida?
So it was a little tough at first. I had to sell her on the vision. I had to paint the vision for her, you know, and everything happened so fast. We were just in here talking just a little bit ago. I said, wow, look at how fast that happened. I said, it was barely a year ago that we decided to make the jump. And here we are now in our office. And she said, yeah, she's like, you're crazy. She said, I didn't think you were going to go for it. I didn't think you were going to go for it. So I had told her, I'm big on goal setting. So, we do annual goals and we meet them. We review them quarterly. So I was doing my annual goals in late 2021, December last year. And so I said, you know what? All right, what's the big goal that I want to do this next year? And I thought, you know what? I mean, I had kept talking about moving to Florida. And I thought, you know what? I mean, we're either just going to talk about it or we're actually going to do it. And so I told her, hey, listen, what do you say we move to Florida? Hey, come on, like it's going to be nice. We're going to have a lifestyle by the beach, all that stuff. And so at first she was on the fence, but then she bought into the idea. I painted the vision. I said, come on, babe, we're going to grow our company out there. We're going to be by the ocean, all that stuff. And so she's like, all right, she admitted that she didn't think that I was going to pull the trigger. So it was kind of a tough conversation, but like I tell everybody else, you got to paint the vision. You got to sell them on the vision. If they can't see the vision, then they're not going to buy into it.
100%. Well, I'm glad. I hope hope you guys have it doing good. Hopefully it was a good decision. Like I said, from here, it looks like you guys made the right decision. Now, let me ask you this, Omar. What advice would you give someone trying to get consistent deal flow,
Yes. So I think I took some notes right here when you asked that one.
Like if there was somebody just sitting in front of you, like a new guy, Omar,
Okay.
I look up to you. What would you tell me to get more deals?
Yeah. I kind of had the answer to that, but I wanted to make sure that I looked at my notes because I wanted to see. I felt like there was like something good to be said there. So it's a numbers game. You got to fill up the pipeline. You got to be consistent and persistent. If you're not building up that pipeline with some volume, with some deals in there, if you're only doing it sporadically here and there, then you're only going to get one or two deals here and there. But you got to stay more consistent. You got to be persistent. Got to fill up that pipeline. You got to start, maybe thinking about getting some team members, maybe an acquisition manager or something. And from there, just building up that pipeline because it's just a numbers game. And you're not going to get the immediate results 1-2 months from now. It's probably going to happen 6, 9, 12 months from now. So, you just got to have that vision. Got to have that faith that if you keep that pipeline filled up, they're just going to start trickling down.
So basically showing up to work every day.
There's no shortcuts.
That goes along. That hits home with me right now. Since the day we first started, we were seeing every quarter that we were going up. And then when we saw that market correction, we saw our quarter first go down a little bit. And so we had to make a couple adjustments and corrections and trim the fat and stuff, which we had to push through it, which led us to literally our highest month this month. So it was just because we had to change a bunch of things, but in this space, you got to change it quick, right? But if we decided just, have poopy pants and sit down on the couch and, be upset about it and pout, and say, this market's it. And you start blaming other things, you're never going to push through it and succeed.
Well, it's like they say, success is not a good teacher. So whenever you start actually encountering some setbacks, some bumps in the road, if you're smart, that's when you're going to take some time in your thinking chair and you're going to start to ask yourself, what did I do wrong? Let's look at the numbers. Let's look at the data. What's happened in the past? All right, well, let's look at our KPIs, right? What happened here? I mean, okay, so but if you're always winning and you're getting checks in the bank account, you're thinking that everything's fine, right? And you're just saying, all right, you're up in the clouds, but you get a little setback. What you got to do is you got to look back, analyze, look at the numbers and see what's been going on, see what you can improve.
100%.
Yeah.
Omar, let me ask you this right now. Because there comes a lot of struggles in real estate, but what is one struggle that you're dealing with right now and how are you solving it?
So like I mentioned, I had to get back in acquisitions. So one of my struggles is having good acquisition managers, So having good acquisition managers that are in there hitting the targets. So we got 2 people that we're training right now. I myself am back in there. So for a while, what I was struggling with was dispositions. I felt that I would get them locked up and I was having a hard time selling them. But I focus a lot of time on the dispositions, and I feel that I got a pretty good process laid out, and I think I forgot about the acquisitions. So now that my dispositions is laid out, I'm back in the trenches, dialing everything back in, making sure that everything's dialed in, the acquisition process, so that we can build it back up.
Awesome. Okay, and that's kind of what we've been seeing. The trend is like, building that sales team, and that's including one of my struggles. Is, earlier this year we had 4 acquisition guys to just me being an acquisition guy right now, and we're going to build it back up. But matter of fact, I'm just this morning I was rewriting our sales process, and I think it's going to be a lot more teachable, and we're super excited.
That's what it is. Yeah, you got to have that process dialed in.
Exactly. Omar, let me ask you this. We do see a recession coming. What are your strategies to get through this recession and coming out the other side even stronger? Because this is why we have you on the show, because we're going to see Omar after this recession. We're going to be talking and shooting the crap after this and talking about, our struggles during it, but we're going to learn so much getting through it. The thing is, I've been seeing a lot of people going out of business. I've seen my other buddies, some other friends go out and saying, hey, I don't do real estate anymore, just because that little market change that we saw. Now, we might see it all through 2023. What are because I know you're a visionary. So what are you seeing to get through it?
So the short answer to that is think long-term. If you're short-sighted, you're worried about the immediate results a year or 2 years from now. But if you're long-sighted, long-term, then you know that this is not going to last forever, and we're actually going to be entering a time of great opportunities. So if you could see that long-term vision 5-10 years down the road, then you know that this is not going to last forever, and you just got to maintain that long-term thinking. So forget about the short-term stuff. Open up your scope of view and just know that if you look further down the road, it's pretty shiny out there. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm telling my wife. That's what I'm telling my team. Listen, we got to see down the road, down the path, because 10 years from now, it's going to be a different picture. It's actually going to be a lot better than that. Right now, it's our opportunity to ride the way back up when it goes back up.
Absolutely. That's something that we always say here too. It's like, we're in this business for 20 plus years. What is a little 8-month recession going to do, right?
Exactly.
Oh, I love it. Let me ask you this, Omar. What have you read or listened to that just inspired you recently?
It's very similar to what I just said right now. So I listened to what's his name? Patrick Bet-David. Bet-David. He has a 2022 keynote speaking session that he did. Is how to become recession-proof as an entrepreneur. And he said what I just said right there. He gets into it very longer on an hour plus video, but he said, you know what, guys, you gotta have a long-term vision. Interest rates historically have always gone up and down, up and down. He said, but what has real estate always done historically? It's always gone up. It's always gone up. So if we're worried about the rising and falling of interest rates, then we're worried about the immediate results that the capital is giving us in the current market. But if you're thinking long term, that's what he said in his video, then you don't have to worry about what the interest rates are doing. Also, the Dow Jones, S&P, it was always historically, it's always gone up. So even though it crashed recently, and everybody is doom and gloom, he said historically it's always going to go up. So when he said that's what really sparked my long-term thinking. And I said, you know what, like that's exactly what we have to think. So that's what I listened to recently, and I think it'll be helpful for anybody else.
Awesome. I don't know if I'm pretty sure we didn't ask this, but I got to ask, Omar, what kind of marketing are you doing right now to get those deals, to give to your junior and senior acquisition guys?
Yeah, so the number one thing that has worked for us since day one is cold calling.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah, so we have an agency right now that we give the list to, and we just skip trace the records, and they handle the dialer, they handle the callers, all that. It's $6 an hour, and we just give them access to a web form on our CRM, and they just plug in the leads every day. So it's worked from day one. I mean, my main marketing strategy from day one, like I said, has been cold calling. That's how I got started. I picked up the phone. That's how I got all my deals from the very beginning. So now instead of us doing that, we outsource that to an agency. They just give us the leads. They come into the CRM, and now our acquisition reps just go in there, filter them out, and try to get them locked up.
What agency are you using?
It's called CRI, Call for Real Estate Investors.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were with them for a little while.
Yeah.
For us though, we completely cut cold calling out, and we dumped all of our efforts into PPC and online inbound marketing.
You know, I feel like I'm on that same boat. I feel like I'm on that same boat right now. I turned on PPC for a little bit when I had my previous acquisition rep, and I felt that we weren't touching those leads fast enough, like they should have been.
Right.
So I turned it off because those leads can get pretty expensive. But now that I'm back in and I'm grinding it out, I want those PPC leads. So
there it is.
I think I want to turn it back on and then just see how that works out, and then probably phase out cold calling, because cold calling, it is more of a 30 to 60 day turnaround time from the time that the lead comes in to when you lock it up. And those PPCs, I mean, they're looking for you. Why don't you tell me real quick, how's that working out for you?
Right. We use if you want to go with any PPC company, personally, we've been using a company called Branding Collective. Fantastic company, and I know there's a bunch of really good ones out there, but that's who we've been using. They've been great.
Okay.
Are you just doing cold calling, or are you doing like SMS, direct mail, or just cold calling right now?
Just cold calling.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And how many
I'm
cold
more
callers?
of a one thing type of guy.
Gotcha. How many cold callers do you have right now?
5.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
The cold call. A lot of people are crushing it still in cold calling. For us, I was looking at the KPIs. I was like, oh, this is not, doing it for us. But a lot of people are still crushing it with cold calling. Let me ask you this, Omar. What is your number one myth about real estate that you would like to debunk right now?
So I'm not sure if this is really a myth, but I think that a lot of new people going in might have this this mindset where you got to go walk a property before you actually make an offer or send a contract, because that's how I was in the beginning.
Right.
I felt like, oh, you know what? I gotta go see the property first. I gotta go verify the condition before I actually make an offer and all that. And then I started hanging around a crowd that was doing virtual deals, and they said, bro, nobody does that anymore. So that changed my mindset. I don't walk any of these properties anymore. Now we just get the square footage of the property, find out what the ARV is, assume the worst, or I mean, not really the worst, but you find out around how much it needs in repairs.
Right.
And you don't necessarily need to go see the property. We eventually will, but from your experience running the numbers, and if you get a pretty good estimate of the repairs, you can make a lot more offers over the phone instead of actually having to go physically walk the property yourself.
I love that you said that, because that was us. So for my first year and a half to 2 years, I felt like I was just driving all around Southern California, hour to the appointment, hour back, 2 hours to an appointment, hour back, and not all the time we got the contract. And I just remember kicking myself in the face sometimes not getting the contract. And I've gotten a lot of contracts doing that. But so anyways, this year we decided to go virtual and only lock them, because we were, as you just told us, you could have way more conversations over the phone. Matter of fact, at this point, I'm actually going to go and go out to the property unless, or have my acquisition guy go out to the property unless we do a couple things, right? Have a price kind of already set that they're going to sign the contract on spot, right? And then and also the third one, if there is just a ton of motivation, I'll go out there. I used to just go out there. If they just say, hey, I want to sell, I'm going out to the appointment. That was my mentality. And don't get me wrong, you can still probably get property at an even deeper discount, belly to belly, always, right? But volume wise, I don't know. it's
right.
We've been seeing a lot more success over the phone right now.
100%. 100%. I mean, like I mentioned, I went to this mastermind about a year ago in December, and that was my philosophy. I have to go walk these properties. Otherwise, how are you going to lock it up without seeing it? And the same language that everybody was speaking in there was all virtual, and nobody even does that anymore. So I was like, all right, you know what? I gotta change it up. And I remember it was just that first one, submitting the offer, getting it locked up without even going to see the property. I was like, okay, it's game. And from there, that's exactly what we do on all the properties.
Awesome. And you say you're doing most of your deals now in Florida? It's like right there in Miami?
No, actually, we're focusing on the major counties in the entire state.
Okay.
Yeah, like Miami, Tampa, Orlando, and Jacksonville, like the main metro.
Yeah. Okay. Have you? And I'm going to ask this just because we still got some time here. Are you thinking about maybe getting your real estate license to maybe take some of these down and put them on the MLS? I mean, what does that look like?
Honestly, that's a good question. I've never thought about that. I don't know. There's something weird about me that I take a little bit of pride of not even having my license, because I think everybody in the industry, or not in the industry, people that think of the industry, they think that you got to have a license to be in real estate, right?
Yep.
So I remember from the very beginning, I found out that you didn't need a license to do what we do. And, you know, so to me that was kind of like, oh, I don't need my license. Like I can make money, like, you know? So I don't know. For me, it's not in the books to get that done right now.
Gotcha. Okay. And you said you have one novation deal in the pipe right now. What does that look like?
Yeah. So that was actually a PPC. That was
there
actually
you go.
A PPC. I know, right? That was a PPC in Tennessee. And it's actually a mobile home on land.
Okay.
But it can classify for conventional financing. It has a permanent foundation. So I think ARV was like 175, 185, something like that. And I think the cash offer was somewhere around 85 to 90K. And so we underwrote it. He got us up to like 111K. So that was more than the cash offer. So we pitched it to him. We said, hey, listen, we got this other program. It's called the retail program. And, you know, we're not going to be the direct buyers from it. We're letting you know up front. He said, you know what? I really don't care as long as you get it done. So we sent out the agreement and he's on board. It's actually pretty good the way that it's working out. There's other realtors that have been shady and have been trying to call him direct. Trying to see if they can get the listing or whatever, and he's been throwing them right back at us. He says, "Hey, just call Stefan. Like he's the one that's dealing with it. I don't want to deal with this."
There you go.
Stefan is my dispo guy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, hey, man. Again, I couldn't thank you enough, man. One thing I also, before I let you go here, you've been having your presence on social media. You've been really making a lot of videos. What made you want to start making that, giving that online presence and start just being a go-giver all over social media? Because that's what I want to encourage people. Go check out Omar Lopez is on his page because he's just dropping gold nuggets and value. So how's that looking right now?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think you hear it plenty of times where, you got to put yourself out there, right? You gotta make a presence, and I think it was now or never, right? I want to create this content, put it out there for everybody, and just start making those content deposits. I'm not 100% sure exactly where it's gonna go, but as long as people are getting value from it, and I might get an opportunity from it later, right? Somebody might see me, somebody might recognize me. And they might say, hey, you know what? I like that guy. I like what he's talking about. I want to work with him. I want to do deals with him, right? And at the same time, I mean, you're just building up like a diary, right? If you have these content deposits, once I have kids, once I have grandkids, they can see that. They can see the transformation from where we were to where we are now. And I mean, I think it's just a journey, but most importantly, you do have to brand yourself. Everything is a brand nowadays. It's just like Coca-Cola, right? You recognize a brand, you're going to buy into it. So I don't think we're any different. We gotta put ourselves out there, brand ourselves, have people recognize us. That way, when they think of your name, they say, okay, I know exactly who that is. I follow him. I want to work with him. And so that's the way that I think about it.
Awesome, Omar. Well, hey, again, I just want to thank you again for coming on here. Again, I want everybody who's listening to this episode right here, go bug Omar. He's a complete go giver. He could teach you how to, build a team, do your marketing, do deals. He'll give you anything that you pretty much ask him. He has a good heart. So, anyways, hit him up, Omar. Let us know, where can we find you on social media?
Yeah, so on Instagram, they can look me at the _ Omar Lopez. It's just my name, Omar Lopez, with the word the _ Omar Lopez. And on Facebook, I guess you could just look me up on Omar Lopez. Maybe if you can provide them a link to my Facebook the show notes. And yeah, I think those are the two major platforms that I interact on.
Awesome, brother. Hey, we'll see you next time here on the Real Estate Block Podcast.